In the previous session, we clearly discussed about OOPS concepts. The OOPS concepts still encapsulation we discussed. So OOPS stands for Object Oriented Programming System. OOPS stands for Object Oriented Programming System. Okay, these OOPS concepts were introduced by MIT in the 1956. So object-oriented programming language means if any language that supports to encapsulation, abstraction, inheritance, and polymorphism, that is object-oriented programming language. So first object-oriented programming language is Simula language. Okay, and the C++ language introduced in the 1980s. C++ language introduced in the 1980s. Okay, so what are the OOPS concepts? Class, object, encapsulation, abstraction, inheritance, and polymorphism. So here, what is class? Class means class is the user-defined data type. Class is the user-defined data type. It is the plan to create the object. It is the plan to create the object. Okay. So it contains what? It contains properties and methods. So we define some properties and methods in the class. And this class is the logical one. It is not physical one. It is not physical one. What is the object? Object is the physical copy of the class. Object is the physical copy of a class. It is, you can say it is an instance of a class because it comes under particular category, particular group, particular class. Okay. So also I have given some examples like rose, lily, jasmine. These are physically existed. Those are the objects. Flower is the concept. Flower is the logical one. This rose, lily, jasmine, these are the physical ones. So physical copies are called objects. Logical one is class. Okay, so what is encapsulation? Encapsulation means the action of, just a minute. Encapsulation means the action of placing several properties and methods in a class. The action of placing several properties and methods in a class is called encapsulation. So we are defining class means that is nothing but encapsulation. Okay, so in the class, what we place, for example, I want to create a class. I want to create a class with the name student. So what's the class name? Student. I want to maintain student rule number, student name, okay, and his contact number, etc. So these are called properties. Okay, these are the properties. Student information I want to maintain. So I want to read the data. I'm defining a method. Reading is a method. Okay, I want to print the data. Printing is a method. I want to find result of the student. Okay, so this is a class. So in this class, so here student is a class. Just a minute. Here student is a class. Sorry. So rule number, name, mobile number, these are called properties. For any object, some properties will be there. In the previous class, we discussed clearly. Okay, so here read, print, result, these are called methods. So we are placing several properties and methods in one particular container. That container is called class. And this action is called encapsulation. We are defining class means that is nothing but encapsulation. Now see about abstraction. So what is abstraction? Listen. So what is abstraction? Listen. Abstraction means very simple. Hiding the implementation details. Hiding the implementation details. Hiding the implementation details. Hiding the implementation details and providing essential details. Hiding the implementation details and providing essential details is called abstraction. Hiding the implementation details, providing the essential details is called abstraction. For example, all the functions comes under abstraction only. All the methods comes under abstraction only. You are defining class means that is nothing but abstraction only. So abstraction means that is hiding implementation details and providing essential details. For example, see here. I want to find square root value. I want to find square root value. So to find the square root value, there is one predefined function defined in the math header file in C language. In C language, the math header file, this sqrt function, they already defined. Okay, see here. So this sqrt is a function defined in which header file? Math header file. So it's math header file. The math header file, sqrt function already defined. Okay, so now this code is in hidden form. This code is in hidden form. Can we see the code which is in the sqrt function? No, we cannot. So who developed this sqrt function? C language developers. C language developers defined this sqrt function. They placed this function in the math header file. Okay, so here some code is there. Some code is there. Okay, can we see this code? Can we see this code? No, we cannot see this code. Can we see this code? We cannot see this code. Okay, but we can use that code by calling from the main function. I'm calling, for example, I want to from the main function. I'm calling sqrt function. From the main function, I'm calling sqrt function. Just a minute, please wait. Okay, so here we are calling sqrt function. We are calling sqrt function. So when we call sqrt function, see here, let me explain. Just a minute. I want to find square root of 100. I want to find square root of 100. Even if I don't know how to find the square root value, I can find by calling the function sqrt. Okay, I'm not from mathematical background. I don't know the logic. I don't know the concept. How can we find the square root? How can I find the square root value? But then also I'm finding square root value by calling. Then also I'm finding square root value by calling. Okay, see here what we are doing. Simply we are calling here. Simply we are calling here. Okay, so it goes to this sqrt function and executes this code and returns the result, and it returns the result. It returns the result as 10. So square root of 100 value is what? 10. Okay, so this is unnecessary to us. This code is unnecessary to us. So that's why this is in hidden form. Now this is in hidden form. This complex code is in hidden form. Complex code is in hidden form. That is unnecessary to us. That is non-essential to us. And essential thing is what? This sqrt function and passing the value is essential to us. Okay, so this one is essential thing. This function prototype is essential thing. Okay, this is unnecessary thing. So code is in hidden form. Okay, so implementation details are in hidden form. Implementation details, the code of sqrt function is in hidden form. Okay, essential thing is what? Function prototype. This will be provided to us. So here essential thing is what? Function prototype. So with the help of this function prototype, we are calling the function. So hiding the implementation details and providing the essential details is nothing but abstraction. This one is called abstraction. Okay, I hope you understood. Hiding the implementation details and providing the essential details is called abstraction. For any function, some code is there. That code is in hidden form. We cannot see that code. Okay, so if that is predefined, even if that is user defined, okay, when we are running, we will not use that code. Just so in this example, here this code is in hidden form, and here that is providing essential thing, this function prototype. So all the functions are comes under abstraction only. All the methods are examples for abstraction. Class is the example for abstraction. They hides the implementation details and provides the essential details outside. I will give one simple example to understand this. For example, to use the TV, we have no need to know the mechanism of TV. To use the TV, we have no need to know the mechanism of TV. So to view the TV, to use the TV, just we have to know how to operate the remote control. And after that, we are viewing that video on a screen. Okay, so remote control and screen, this both are required. With the help of remote control, you are operating the TV. So here essential thing is what? Screen is essential thing. They have given outside. Okay. And internally, so many circuits are there. So many electronic circuits are there. Okay. Picture tube is there. Okay. All those are in hidden form. Those are non-essential things. In the TV, some non-essential things to the user are in hidden form. To the user, those are the non-essential thing. For the TV, that is essential only. To the user, those are non-essential things. So non-essential things are in the hidden form. Screen is essential thing. He has given outside. Remote control is the essential thing. He has given outside. That's it. With the help of remote control, you can operate the TV. Okay. Similarly, here to use the SQRT function, which code is there? That is non-essential thing. So that is in hidden form. Okay, this function prototype is required. So that is provided to us. With the help of that, we are calling. Okay, similarly, in the car, to drive the car, essential things are what? Steering, clutch, brake, accelerator, gear. Clutch, brake, accelerator, gear, and steering. These are the essential things. So essential things are given outside. Okay, so engine is the non-essential thing to the user. To drive the car, okay, engine is non-essential thing to the user. So that is in hidden form. And so many mechanical components are there. Electrical components are there. Electronic components are there. All those are in the hidden form. Essential things are given outside. Like that, you take any. In the fan, internally mechanism is there. In the AC, internal mechanism is there. In the washing machine, internal mechanism is there. So essential things are they are given outside. Non-essential things are in hidden form. Similarly, here also, okay, we are writing some code. That code will be in the hidden form. Just we provide the essential things to the user. So hiding the implementation details and providing the essential details is nothing but what? Abstraction. Okay, so last example I'm giving for your clear understanding purpose. Last example I'm giving, pay attention and listen carefully here. For example, you are using ATM center. You are using ATM machine. The ATM machine, after entering, just a minute. After entering valid PIN number, that is displaying one first screen to us. After entering valid PIN number, that is displaying one menu to us. Okay, that menu contains some options. That menu contains some options like withdraw option, withdraw option. Okay, so like that, check balance option, check balance option, mini statement option, mini statement option, mini statement. Okay, after entering valid PIN number in the ATM machine, in the ATM software, after entering valid PIN number, that is displaying this menu. Do you want to withdraw the money, or do you want to check the balance, or do you want to check mini statement? So this screen will be displayed. If you want to withdraw the money, you are clicking on withdraw. So now for withdrawing the money, they have written some code actually. For withdrawing the money, they have written some code here. That code is in hidden form. Can we see that code? No, that is in hidden form. Because this is non-essential to the user. This is non-essential. This is non-essential to user. We are the users. So this code is non-essential to us. So that's why that is in hidden form. This withdrawal code is in hidden form. Just what it is providing, this withdraw button. This withdraw button is provided to us. This withdraw button is essential for us. Okay, so this withdraw button is essential thing. This one is essential to user. So using this withdraw button, we click on withdraw button, then that displays another menu that asks the amount. We enter the amount, we enter the amount, and machine gives the amount, we collect it. This is the withdraw process. So what is the essential thing here? This withdraw button is essential thing to us. Is code is required for us? No. This code is not essential thing to the user. So that's why this is in hidden form. What is the essential thing to the user? This button is the essential thing. So button is provided outside. This code is provided in hidden form. So like that, hiding the non-essential things and providing the essential things is nothing but abstraction. Hiding the implementation details and providing the essential details is nothing but abstraction. So this is about abstraction. I hope you understood. Okay, so abstraction topic is over. So encapsulation, and so what is the advantage here? The main advantage with the abstraction is it makes the user task user friendly. The main advantage here is it makes it makes user task it makes the task user friendly. It makes the task user friendly. Okay, so finding square root is big thing to me. I don't know the concept, I don't know the logic. So then also I'm calculating square root here by calling the function. So big thing they made into small thing and they provided to me. So making the big thing into the small thing and providing to the user is the main advantage with the abstraction. So it makes the task user friendly. So this withdrawal code is very big thing to us to write withdrawal code, but he is making this thing easier. Programmer is making this thing easier, and he's providing this essential thing button. With the help of button, we are withdrawing the money. Okay, so this is about abstraction, and next one is listen inheritance. So next see about inheritance. So what is inheritance? You already know about it. The general meaning of inheritance is heritage having the properties of older ones. Having the properties of older ones. Okay, so acquiring the properties and functionalities, acquiring the properties and functionalities of an existing class, acquiring the properties and functionalities of an existing class is called inheritance. This one is called inheritance. Okay, is called inheritance. Acquiring the properties and functionalities of an existing class. Acquiring means getting. So getting the properties and functionalities of existing class is called inheritance. Okay, so to understand this, I'm giving some example here. Pay attention and observe carefully here. For example, I want to develop a software for our college. So for that, I'm defining a class. My requirement is I want to define a class. That class name is teacher or lecturer. Okay, so I want teacher ID. So every teacher has one identification number, teacher ID, teacher name, and teacher address or teacher contact number, etc. Okay, so these properties I want. Teacher mobile number. Okay, so these properties I want to maintain. And what I am doing is, so to read ID value, I'm defining get ID method. To print ID value, I'm defining put ID method. So for reading ID value, get ID method. For printing ID value, put ID method. Like that. To read name value, get name method. Get name method. To print name value, put name method. Put name method. Put name method. Similarly, to read mobile number, get mobile number method. Get mobile number method. To print mobile number, put mobile number method. I'm defining. Put mobile number. Okay, so what are these? These are the properties and functionalities of the class teacher. So here ID, name, mobile number, what are these? These are the properties. Get ID, put ID. Get ID for reading, put ID for printing. Get name, put name. Get mobile number, put mobile number. So these 6 are the methods. These 3 are the properties. Okay, now observe carefully here. Now how many properties are there for the class teacher? 3 properties. How many methods are there for the class teacher? 6 methods. Now, this class is assume that this class is the existing class already defined. Assume that 1 month ago, this is defined. 1 month ago, this is defined. Okay. So now, present, we want to define another class. That class name is student. So I want to maintain student ID, student name, student mobile number, student mobile number, okay, student section, and student marks. These details I want to maintain. Okay, so to read student ID, name, mobile number, I'm defining these 6 methods here. So get ID, put ID, get name, put name, get mobile number, put mobile number. So like that, I want to read section value. So to read section value, I'm defining get section method. To print section value, I'm defining put section method. Similarly, to read marks value, get marks method. To print marks value, put marks method, I'm defining here. Okay, now observe carefully here. Observe carefully. Now this class has how many properties? 5 properties. Okay, how many methods? 10 methods we are defining. Now if you observe this class teacher and class student, almost all the members defined in the class teacher are also defined in the class teacher, class student. Observe. ID, name, mobile number available in the class teacher. Same ID, name, mobile number we are also defining in the class student. Get ID, put ID, get name, put name, get mobile number, put mobile number. These are already defined in the teacher. Again, we are defining all those 6 members in the class student. So almost all the class teacher members, again, we are defining in the class student. So automatically what will happen? Some memory will be wasted here. Okay, so memory will be wasted. Sorry. So automatically some development time will be wasted, not memory. Okay, automatically some development time will be wasted because again we are defining 6 methods. That method may have 10 lines code, or that method may have 100 lines code. So to write 100 lines code, some time will be wasted. Like that, I have to define 6 methods. So automatically some development time will be wasted here. I want to save this development time. I want to reuse this ID, name, mobile number, which is in the class teacher. I want to reuse in the class student. So in such type of situations, we use the concept inheritance concept. We establish relationship between these two classes. Now this new class acquires the properties ID, name, mobile number here. So you have no need to define ID, name, mobile number again. I removed. Again, you have no need to define get ID, put ID, get name, put name, get mobile number, put mobile number. I'm removing them. No, not required, because we are establishing relationship between the classes. Okay. So now here class teacher members, I am reusing in the class student. Now class student has how many properties? 5 properties. Listen carefully. Now class student has how many properties? 5 properties. Here we are establishing relationship between class student and class teacher. So this concept is called inheritance. So now class student has how many properties? 5 properties. Okay. So its own 2 properties. Okay. Its own 2. Parents 3. So parents ID, name, mobile number, parents 3 properties plus its own 2 properties. Total how many properties are there? 5 properties are there for the class student. And how many methods are there? 10 methods. How many methods are there? 10 methods. Okay, its own 4 plus its parents. 6 methods. Okay, so parents 6 methods plus its own 4. So total this class has 10 methods. And this class has how many properties? 5 properties. Its parents 3 properties and its own 2 properties. Total 5 properties. So I'm reusing the members of class teacher in the class student. So the main advantage with the inheritance is this concept is called inheritance. This concept is called inheritance. So what are the advantages here? I'm writing clearly. Observe. Just a minute. I'm writing clearly here. So this concept is called inheritance. What is the advantage here? The first advantage is reusability of members. Reusability of members. I'm reusing the members here. Reusability of members. So this ID, name, mobile number I'm using in the class student. Again, I'm not defining. Get ID, put ID, get name, get mobile number, put mobile number. These 6 methods I'm reusing here. Okay. So hence we can reuse the members. That is the advantage here. And it reduces development time. Reduces development time. Reduces development time. Okay. Session may be automatically closed. Okay. So till here, till inheritance, I stop the session. Okay. So session may be automatically closed. Okay. Because after completion of 45 minutes, session will be closed. Okay. So reusability of members is one advantage, and it reduces development time because again we are not defining class teacher members. So automatically it reduces development time, and we can extend the class easily. Extendability. We can extend the class easily without disturbing the existing class. We can add some more properties. That is called extendability. Okay. So extendability is another feature. These are the advantages with the inheritance. So with the inheritance, reusability of members, it reduces development time, extendability. These are the advantages with the inheritance. So we can extend the class by defining new class and establishing relationship between them. So this relationship is called parent-child relationship. This relationship is called parent-child relationship. Okay. And say this existing class is called parent class. Here class teacher is there. This class teacher is called parent class. This one is called parent class. Or you can say this as the base class. Or you can say this as the base class. Or you can say this as the super class. You already know this. Whereas this new class is called, this new class is called, this existing class is called parent class or base class or super class. This new class is called child class, or you can say this as the derived class. You can say this as the derived class, or you can say this as the uh, subclass. Subclass. So this is the terminology. So this existing class is called parent class or base class or super class. This new class is called child class or derived class or subclass. So this new class is acquiring the properties, ID, name, mobile number, acquiring the properties and these functionalities. So that process is called inheritance, acquiring the properties and functionalities of existing class. Existing class is teacher. So this class teacher properties is acquired by the student. Class teacher functionalities are acquired by the student class. So this mechanism is called inheritance. Advantages: reusability, reduces development time, and extendability. These are the advantages. So this is the concept of inheritance. Okay. So this relationship is called parent-child relationship. Then next one is polymorphism. Next one is what? Polymorphism. So this polymorphism is the derived word. It is derived from two Greek words. Those two Greek words are, first one is poly, second one is morphism. Morphism. Okay. So morphos. Morphos is the Greek word actually. So morphos means forms. Okay. Poly means many. So regularly we use this poly term, polygon, polytechnic. Okay. Poly means what? Many. Okay. Morphos means forms. These are the two derived words. In the English, some derived words are there. Some words are derived from Greek, some words are derived from Latin. So like that, some derived words are there. Okay. So these poly and morphos, these are the derived words. So polymorphism means the ability to exist in many forms. The ability to exist in many forms. The ability to exist in many forms is called polymorphism. So the ability to exist in many forms is called polymorphism. So same thing will be existed in many forms. For example, add is a method. To add three integers, two integers, I'm writing like this: int x, comma, int y. Similarly, I want to add three numbers. So to add three numbers, I'm defining another method: int x, comma, int y, comma, int z. To add two strings, I'm defining another method like this. To add two characters, I'm defining one method like this. Char x, comma, char y. So here same add method is existed in many forms. So this is called method overloading. Same method is existed in many forms. So if same method is existed in many forms, we call that as the method overloading. Same method, add method. To add two integers, we use this one. To add three integers, we use this one. To add two characters, to combine two characters, we use this one. Method overloading. Same add method is existed in three forms here, many forms here. So method overloading means defining multiple methods with the same name. Add, signature should be different. So here signature change means change in number of parameters. Here two parameters are there. Here three parameters are there. If number of parameters are same, data type should be different. Here data type is int. Here data type is char. So defining multiple methods with the same name, add, with different signatures is called method overloading. This method overloading is example of polymorphism. Same add method is existed in many forms. Okay, so like that, operator overloading. So same plus, for the same plus we can give multiple behaviors. For example, 10 plus 20 means it performs addition, it gives 30. I'm giving Raj as first string, Kumar as second string. Okay, now here plus acts as the concatenation operator. I want output like this, Raj Kumar. So to the existing operator plus we give new meaning. So giving new meaning to the existing operator is called operator overloading. So this is called operator overloading. So same plus is existed in many forms. Here plus is performing addition. Here plus is performing concatenation, means combining. So same plus operator is existed in many forms. So this is called operator overloading. So method overloading, operator overloading, constructor overloading, dynamic binding, okay, overriding, all these are comes under polymorphism. So to understand this, I'm giving one simple example. So with this, I stop the session. Listen. For example, gold is there. Same gold can be existed in many forms. With the gold, okay. So gold is existed in the form of ring, finger ring, or gold is existed in the form of ear ring, or gold is existed in the form of bangle. So same gold, okay, existed as finger ring, ear ring, bangle, okay, necklace, bracelet. So same gold is existed in many shapes, many forms. Similarly, same add method is existed in many forms. If same add method is existed in many forms, method overloading. If same plus operator is existed in many forms, operator overloading. So if operator is existed in many forms, operator overloading. If method is existed in many forms, method overloading. Okay, if same thing is existed in many forms, we call that as the polymorphism. Okay, so this is about polymorphism. So OOPS concepts topic is over. Okay, now I want to give some instructions to you. All of you listen carefully. So daily our class timings are 10:15 to 11. 10:15 to 11. These are our class timings. Okay, daily I start the meeting at 10:13. Okay, at 10:13 I start the meeting. Starts the meeting. Okay, you please join at 10:15. Okay, from 10:13 to 10:15 you join. Okay, join at 10:15. So join at this time. Okay, join in session. Okay, so at 10:17 or 10:18 I admit you all. Okay, within 2-3 minutes I admit you all. Okay, and at 10:20 I start the session. At 10:20 I start the session. After 10:20 I will not allow anyone. Okay, please follow the rules. At 10:20 I start the session. Okay, so our class timings are 10:15 to 11. I start the meeting at 10:13. You join at 10:15. So from 10:15 to 10:20 I allow you, no problem. So after 10:20 I will not allow anyone. At 10:20 I start the session. After starting the session I will not admit anyone. Please follow these rules till the end of online classes. Okay, did you get my point? Okay. Now you can unmute and talk with me. Okay. Did you understand today's class?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So OOPS concepts topic is over.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So OOPS concepts topic is over. So please follow these rules. Our class timings are 10:15 to 11. Meeting ID password is same always. Okay. So please all of you join.
Done, sir.
Okay. Please be on time. Okay. Please maintain the timings. Please maintain discipline. At 10:20, I start the session regularly. Okay.